M&M presents politics, and specifically, what are executive orders and how do they work? Well, in the kingdom of M&M ruled King M&m, and King M&m often wished he could do whatever he wanted, but, his cabinet of M&Ms wanted to make sure that their own ideas are heard, and the people also wanted to give some of their own ideas. So normally, if King M&m wanted to make a big new law, he had to work with his cabinet and the people. They would discuss, debate, and vote, and that process really took time. And King M&m didn't always want to wait. So, what can he do? Well, his fairy godmother, Constitutione, gave him a special power. Executive orders. Not that exactly, but you get the idea. It functions similarly as a law that the cabinet and the president would pass normally, but this time they didn't require their approval. But, here's the catch. So firstly, the cabinet and the people, normally the cabinet, could push back if they didn't like it. And second of all, the mint M&Ms in the royal courts could strike it down if it broke the law or went against the Constitution. And third, if the cabinet doesn't like it and just doesn't want them to do it, they could cut off their funding and their supply, so the king couldn't carry it out. Now, the point is, the king can never create a law. They're in charge of interpreting the law that the Constitution gives. For example, if the Constitution or the cabinet says that, peanuts are outlawed, he can pardon the people that eat peanuts. Wink, wink. And moreover, if the king decides to do something big, like charging the Snickers Kingdom, they could be stopped by the cabinet. So what happens when a king misuses executive orders, and when does that happen? And what does that mean? It happens when the king orders his cabinet to do something that the Constitutione never gave him the power to do, like changing the law or going against the Constitution. In that case, courts or the cabinets must step up. Here are some examples of cool M&Ms doing cool stuff or not so cool M&Ms doing not so cool stuff with them. For example, Abraham Lincoln once used Emancipation Proclamation to kind of yield to free slaves. The second example is FDR, which he used the EOs to, segregate Japanese Americans, and that's an example of him abusing this power. Third example is President Truman, who desegregated the army with an executive order. And lastly, JFK, who created the Peace Corps with an executive order in 1961.